My name is Tiffany Smith, and I'm doing speech number 3. I just want to talk to you about voting in Ohio. My speech is to inform you about voting in Ohio and then why we get out to vote on election day. But I do want to ask you, why is it so important to vote? Where do people go to vote? And will voting be easy? These are all questions that everybody needs to know and ask about the voting process. They want to ask questions like, how much training will I need if I want to get out and do some voting? Besides where I would go to do it. Now, the Board of Elections does have little flyers that show you ways that you can vote. There are 3 different ways that the flyer has that you're able to get out and vote at the polls. Get out and vote. You can do a return mail-in ballot. You can also do early voting, which is October the 6th through November the 2nd. And then you can also do the third, and what a lot of people do is get out and vote on the actual election day, which is November the 3rd. Although they don't list it, there is another option to voting as well. If you have a disability or right now in a time of COVID, if you feel that you're symptomatic or if you are disabled, they do offer curbside voting, which is a great option for some of the people who can't really make it to stand in line all their time. They will bring the ballot out to the car and let you vote inside your car. I also want to talk to you about the reasons, your right that you have to exercise your voting. Because what you need to know is in 2016, only 50% of the people went out to the polls to even vote. And why do we worry about people not getting out to vote? It's because it's your right. It's a right that really cannot be taken from you. There were times that you weren't able to vote because of things like a poll tax, or the civil rights was created for some earlier federal protections against discrimination in voting. So voting is something that a lot of people were never even able to do, but you're able to get out and cast your vote. Now, if you're not jailed, everybody can get out and vote. But of course, if you're in jail, one of the rules are you won't be able to vote from jail. But the legal age in Ohio is 18 to get out and cast your vote. Another rule is you must be a citizen of the United States, and you must be a resident in Ohio 30 days before you want to vote to be able to cast your vote. Once you have voted or once you have registered, then you can navigate how to vote at your election polls. Now, what's important to know is you have to have the proper identification, because without proper identification, you won't be allowed to vote. You may have your military ID, a passport, or just your driver's license to use as identification to prove who you are. But in times like these, as I stated before with the pandemic, you want to make sure that you also have a mask, because a lot of polling places ask that you wear masks. They also will provide a mask for you to wear. Now, they certainly won't turn you away if you don't want to wear a mask, but it is required. They do ask that you do come in with a mask on. And then once you get in there and you start voting, what you want to do with your ballot is make sure that you shade everything in as well as it can be, because if you use a check mark or if you use an X, it will not be counted. That vote won't count at all. Now, what we've learned as well is you have to use it or lose it. They are trying to make a law that if you don't use your right to vote, then they will cast away your name so you won't be able to vote. You also, as I stated, with the criminal offenders, what we've learned is just because you have been in jail or you've been a felon, you are still able to vote. So please exercise your right to get out and vote. And lastly, you can't talk about the government and who's running the country nor how they're running it if you never even get out to the polls to cast your vote. So please utilize your vote before you lose your right to complain about the government.